Let me show you how I overcame the balancing problem of these wine bottle balancers with this. So, like I've showed you in the introduction over there, the previous time I made this balancing piece of wood, this is very simple. It's merely a 45-degree angle with a hole. If you want to see this video, I'll put a link in the description below. Now, the way this works is you simply put it down on the table, 45-degree angles at the bottom, put a bottle of wine in there, and it balances itself. Now, depending on how full the bottle is, you just adjust the bottle, because obviously if it's too full, it's going to want to tilt this way. And if it's too empty, it's going to want to tilt that way. So nice in the middle, and it balances itself. Now, this does work, but there were some queries and complaints about this method because it's not always ideal. It does present well, but it's not that easy to set up, and it is a bit unstable from time to time. Obviously, I made the single one for one bottle and the double one for two bottles. And especially with the double one, it became a bit more complicated when you've got two bottles and they're not equally full, or they become too empty. Then the balance is even harder to balance or to get right. So to modify that whole scenario a slight bit, I'm just redesigning it a slight bit and modifying the design. So this time I'm making one. This one is for two bottles. You can make it for one as well if you want to, maybe even three if you wish to go that far. And this time I'm only adding a little foot piece. Now the idea is basically simple. On the one that's upright, I once again made a 45-degree at the bottom, a 45-degree angle. But this time, instead of the bottle leaning against it and balancing itself, this time I'm going to attach the top part to the foot piece like so. In other words, if it stands on the foot piece like that at the bottom, it's got some support, and you do not need to worry how full the bottles are every time, but it gives the same effect more or less of the bottles being balanced. So what did I do? Once again, 45-degree angles at the bottom here. Now there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can do it with a table saw set at 45 degrees. There's a couple of ways. Other thing is I didn't make both angles half of the 45 degrees. In other words, I didn't make the one like 22.5 degrees and the other one as well. Made one 45-degree angle. It's much simpler. And even if you do not have a table saw to be able to cut that with, you can do this with a simple jigsaw as well, like this. And all I did with the jigsaw, as you can see from the bottom there, I only adjusted, I've loosened the two bolts at the bottom in this one's case, and I adjusted the foot piece or the foot sole of the jigsaw to 45 degrees. So how am I going to attach this to the foot piece? Well, the design is quite simple in this one. Okay, once again, I cut two holes in here. I did some roundovers on my bench router over here. Rounded over the edges as well of the top one to make it nice. Makes it look nice and smooth. And the top part of the bottom one as well, rounded it over, makes it look smoother. Now, obviously, if you look from the side like this, you'll see that if I do that 45-degree angle, there's a bit of the upright sticking past the bottom part if I'm going to attach it like that. So it would not look entirely right, but we'll get to how I'm going to smooth that over in a slight bit. So firstly, I only put them together like this to get the thickness of the bottom one, like that. Let me hold it this way. To get the thickness of the bottom one, I then drew a light little line on there to show the thickness of it. I then used a drill, and I drilled two holes into halfway of the thickness of the wood, right through, make it come out the other side. And once I've done that, I put it together again like this, and with two screws in, marked the spots on the foot piece, and I drilled two holes there as well. In other words, if I put the screws in there with some wood glue in between, I can screw those together. It would be supported by the wood glue as well, and that would be, when it dries, then securely tightened. Now, obviously, this is not the only way. You can use screws, you can use wood glue, you can put some dowel sticks, pieces of dowel sticks through there as well, and glue them in place to add some extra support if you wish, but there's more than one way. So once that is done, I'm now basically only gonna take two screws, put them in here like so. I'm gonna use a screwdriver for this one. Well, since the holes are pre-drilled already there and it's in the right place, I can take some wood glue like this, and I can apply some of the wood glue on the face of the board there, or on the piece that's going to be joined. I'm going to spread it nice and evenly. It can squeeze out the edges, that's fine. We can rub that off and even sand it afterwards if need be. Once that is done, I'm simply going to, the screws are slightly inserted, the tips are just sticking out like you can see over there, and they can simply go into those two holes that are other way around, that are pre-drilled like so. You'll feel them slip in there, in those two holes quite easily, and then take the screwdriver and simply tighten the two screws into those pre-drilled holes until they are nice and tightly secured. Let's quickly drill these two all the way through. Now, the screw heads, I did countersink the holes for the heads of the screws a slight bit. If you do wish, you can obviously use some wood filler and you can cover up the holes afterwards. And obviously you can always opt to paint this whole thing if you wanted another color, or you can only stain it with some varnish or paint or just wood stainer, whichever you prefer. So once this is nice and tight, do it like that. I'm simply going to wipe some of the glue away like that. And that is basically what it looks like. Now you'll see it stands like that. Quite simple. Now, how does it work? Let's take a bottle of wine, put it in there, and there you go. It easily stands. No need to worry at what depth or whatever you put it, it's going to be standing. Even on the top one, you can put it in, you can put another one at the bottom, it's going to work absolutely fine. No need of any sort to have this and balance it carefully. You can merely take a bottle and put it in there and it stands. It still gives a nice effect of the bottle. It's a floating effect. Only difference is it's got a foot piece at the bottom. Now this is not even done yet, so we've still got the little foot piece at the bottom there that is stuck past. So what I'm going to do now, you can see that part over there, is I'm going to take my sander. You can use sanding paper, whichever you prefer, and I'm simply going to sand that all the way off. So let's get round to doing that quickly. Alright, so as you can see, this is now completely flush at the bottom. So let's have a look again. Once again, it's standing there, putting in the wine bottle like that, and lovely, standing nicely balanced without having to wonder. Obviously you can alter the angle of this a slight bit due to the fact that it doesn't have to balance on its own. So you don't need to do this at a 45-degree angle. You can do it perhaps at a 60-degree angle, a slight bit more upright, if that is more the look you're going for. So I'm quickly going to stain this, and just to give it that final nice effect. So if you do like this project and you want to see more like it, be sure to like the video. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please be free or feel free to do that as well, so you can see more of these projects on a regular basis. So until next time, thank you very much, guys.